Go.
On September 9th, Katherine Scott came to Bensalem High School to talk to the students.
Students at Bucks County High School had a chance to learn about local journalism today from one of the best.
Absolutely. Action News reporter Katherine Scott spoke to the kids at Bensalem High School this morning. She talked to the students who are taking media and communications classes.
Katherine talked about how to cover the news and some of the top issues of the day.
Please welcome to Bensalem High School, Channel 6 News, Katherine Scott.
Thank you. Well, thank you so much for having me. We had such a fun time kicking off back to school season, and I'm seeing some familiar faces, so it's really nice to be back here again and talking to you guys. So today I figured I would talk a little bit about what I do every day, a little bit how I got here, and then try to give you some tips that might be useful. Now, it may or may not be in that order. I want this to be a conversation, so if you have a question, raise your hand, we can talk. This is not a set format. So just basics. I'm a general assignment reporter for 6ABC. I work the morning show, which means I get up at 1:45 in the morning, Monday through Friday. Usually, sometimes I work the weekends like I worked last Sunday. I have all my clothes laid out so I can just jump right into them and sneak out of my house. Now, I actually considered changing my shoes today since I was talking to you guys, but if you can see, I'm wearing sneakers. And I do this every day. I thought, well, why would I change? Because this is actually what I wear to work. And the reason I do that is because I run around a lot. I am very rarely sitting still. And I run around, I've been on chicken farms, I've been in the middle of the city, I've been in junk piles. I mean, I never know what the day is gonna bring. So I like to wear functional shoes because I like to be able to walk around and be comfortable when I'm telling you the news. So I get up at 1:45, I get dressed, I grab something on the go, and I drive to City Avenue to the station. And I really am barely in the office. I walk in, I walk down, I get into an Action News van, and I drive away. So where I go really depends on the day. Sometimes I get an email that says, for example, today, you're gonna be doing a crime story at police headquarters. It was a story that was covered yesterday. I knew what I was doing. I was able to write something and edit something together and then broadcast. However, sometimes I don't know what I'm going to do. Sometimes I think I'm going to do something and then I get a call that says, actually, we need you at this address, so just go over there and be live. The next question a lot of people ask is, why are you on this shift? Like, don't you want to get off this shift? Which I think is a very natural question to ask. But for me, and a lot of newsrooms, newsrooms are different, but the three main reporter shifts that in our newsroom are the early morning ones, which is what I'm on now. There's a dayside shift, which is very civilized, like you get in at 9, but then you're live at 6 somewhere and you usually don't get home until 7, 8 o'clock. Or you have the night shift, which I was on for a couple years, where you would get in at 2:30, 3 o'clock in the afternoon and then you work until midnight or wherever you get back. If you're at the shore, you're not getting back till 1 o'clock in the morning. So for me, I have 3 kids, and this shift actually, I mean, I maybe don't get as much sleep as I'd like to, but it actually works out really well because I'm able to coach soccer and I'm able to pick up kids from school and help with homework and do some of the things that if I was on one of the other shifts, I wouldn't be able to do. Yeah. That's a good question. Do I ever feel like it's too much for me? I mean, yeah, sure, sometimes. Like, I'll tell you, on Sunday, I had everything organized because I had to go into work and my kids had like different games and all that kind of stuff. And then the ride I was supposed to have for my one daughter to get to field hockey fell through and I couldn't get in touch with anybody. And I was like, and I had to be at work and I was already starting to be late. And I was about to throw my phone across the room because you get frustrated and you're like, But the fact of the matter is, I think balance is the wrong word to use because balance is I think when someone says something's balanced, I think of someone doing yoga and feeling very like centered. Like, that's not me. I'm not centered. However, I am able to do what I want to do. And I think so at times when it does get overwhelming, and it definitely does. And when you're, anybody, I mean, you guys all know, when you're tired, doesn't everything seem like a little bit harder, like versus when you're well rested? So the days that you're tired and you're, feeling down, yeah, I mean, that sometimes happens, but I have there's so many reasons why I love this job that I want to keep coming back. And obviously I love my kids, so like I want to see them. And so this to me is just a good way that sort of like honestly by accident fell into, because when I first was on this morning show, it was before I had kids, and I can tell you, I was not thrilled when I got that call that I was going from the night shift to the morning shift. I was psyched to be Monday through Friday, because before that I worked Saturdays and Sunday nights in addition to my days off for Monday and Tuesday. So this allowed me to work have most weekends off, but I really wasn't that excited to be getting up when I was getting up. However, like over time, it actually worked for me, and I sort of made it work for me. And now I say, don't move me from the shift. I love the shift. It works. So, yeah. Anybody else? Yeah. What's the hardest thing? Well, I would say the hardest thing are the hard days, like the hard stories, because I mean we call them stories, but really like our stories are people. So, and a lot of times when we see people, it's on the worst day of their lives. And that is, it's very easy to be awkward, or some people I think forget, I'm not using names, but there are some people, reporters, that I feel like forget that they're talking with real people who are going through a traumatic event. And it's one of the tough things about my job, and I'm not, even to this day, if I know I have to go ask somebody a question that is going through something terrible, I get knots in my stomach. Like I don't want to go up and bother people. But one of the reasons I do it is because people are different. So like people, for example, I've had stories where something traumatic has happened and you walk up and people are like, get out of here, go away, you're a terrible person, you're a vulture, and they say all sorts of things. I get it. And you know what? When that happens to me, I say, I'm sorry, and I walk away. Sometimes people are, one second, and I'll come right to you. Sometimes people are like, I just don't want to, I understand why you're here, but I just don't want to, I don't want to talk. And I say, okay. And then on the other end, I've had people who are so happy that I've asked them to tell me about their loved one because they want to tell me all about them, and they want to raise awareness for something. And I've actually had somebody come up to me and say, hey, my son, I think he had something terrible happened to him. He goes, and you guys didn't cover it. You didn't call me. So, I mean, like, all these terrible stories that, we try not to just do, but sometimes, that's the job, is sometimes you have to go to these places and cover these things that you just feel so bad to be there, but you also realize that there's a purpose for why you're doing this. And sometimes, again, people react differently. And to me, that's the hardest thing. What were you going to say? Sorry. Oh, in field hockey? So I played center, well, in college I played center back, and in high school I played center mid, but, yeah.
How do you make time for your family?
How
do you, take, your job life and then, going to bed early, and, how do you,
Well, it's not always ideal, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, so in the morning I'm not there. I literally, my daughter was trying out for auditioning for the play the other day, and I knew her audition was that day. And my husband is a doctor, and he goes to work really early as well. So we have a sitter come to the house, and they're the ones that come at 6 in the morning and take the kids to school. And I was texting the sitter, who's the nicest person ever, Annie, good luck to you. I love you so much. You're going to be so great. And, remember to smile. And this is all going through the babysitter, which isn't ideal. But so I miss that time of day. However, what I tell myself is that at least on the other end of the day, I get to pick everybody up from school. My hours are odd, but I actually am able, even though sometimes I am tired, I am able to actually spend that time with my family. But to that end, if you work this job, and we noticed this during the pandemic, a lot of people shifted to working at home or this work from home situation. Dan and I, we worked in the office. I think I worked from home 3 days. They were trying it out to see if I could do it. I could, and they're like, okay, well, you'll be back to work next week. And that was that. So we worked through the pandemic, in person. We'll work on holidays, not every single holiday. We work on weekends, we work odd hours. So, I mean, this is one of the things where it's just part of the job, unfortunately. But you should know that because, I think some people make it work, but then others, it's too much. Yeah. There was somebody else. I feel like yeah.
Question for Dan. How much does the camera weigh? Does your shoulder ever hurt?
And keep in mind, so that there's the camera, which is like, what did you say, like 15 to 20 pounds? That tripod weighs a lot. And then if you're going to be live, you need something like a live view, a backpack or something that you put on that also weighs more. So, and of course, I just walk in carrying the microphone. That's one of the. That's why, yeah, exactly. So it is. You gotta be mobile.
You see this black and white there too? Is that weird? It was black and white. You look through like all the viewfinders, the old cameras are black and white. Because actually focusing is easier with black and white. But you have a little side view here. You know, so same with your cameras over there. They're all color. You know.
Did you have a question? Were you going to say, or were you just looking? No.
It's a good question. That's a good question. It has backpack on a lot of the backside. Yes. I don't need this before 4 o'clock, so I'm not going to lie.
Okay, so definitely, do you any more questions? I was going to say I can, oh yeah, go for it.
What has been your favorite story to cover?
My favorite story to cover. See, okay, there are a lot of favorite stories to cover. I actually love, I mean, I know I'm not just saying that because I'm in front of you. I love the back to school stories. So I think that was really fun because you guys were like excited and there's like cheerleaders and a band and all this kind of stuff. I think that's really fun. One of my favorites that I've done in recent years is Flyers opening day. They let us on the ice, and I used to figure skate when I was younger, and my mother, actually, the first time I did one of these segments, she was like, wow, those lessons finally came in handy. It took a couple decades and whatever. But not that I can do very much anymore, but it was just fun to get on the ice and be able to be live, and you know, the Flyers are going to play there later that night, and it's always something fun to do every year. Yeah?
So, like, then what's your hardest story? Because, like, I feel like there's, like, quite a few that's, like, really difficult.
Yeah, and it can get a lot. I mean, I would say that anything traumatic, and that can be crime or fires or just, you know, a terrible accident. Those are always, to me, just like from a personal, like they take their emotional toll. I mean, there are some stories that we do. I mean, we have kids, and like, you know, there's terrible stories, and you just, it breaks your heart. I mean, it really does, and you have to really try to train yourself in some way. You have to be compassionate, but also be like kind of a goldfish and be able to like forget. Go ahead.
I always say we see people sometimes on their best day or their worst day. And it's just a story before here, some kid in grade school won Super Bowl tickets. That's his best day. It's like, you know, and then it's just, you never know what you're going to get. So
Yeah.
it does kind of balance out. I'll be honest, with more good days than bad days, and you prepare for it. Like you said before, you handle it sensitively and, you know, respectfully, and you know, it's a bad day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you ever get like emotional when you're on live, like over the stories like that?
I have. I will say in general, I feel it, but I don't always show it. But I mean, I definitely do. I mean, it doesn't even have to be something that's acutely traumatic in the sense that, like, I mentioned I'm working on Sunday. On Sunday, I did a story. It was a walk for pediatric cancer, and there were some survivors, and there were families of those that did not. And it was a very positive day. People were, you know, just trying to raise awareness and show support. But honestly, from an emotional perspective, that was difficult because you're looking at all these kids and you can't help but think of your own. So, I mean, I think that does, even in something that's not in like a breaking news situation, that does come into the picture for sure. Anyway, oh yeah, I met you before. Nice to see you.
What were some things you did early in your career that set you up for success now?
Oh, let's see. Okay. So what did I do early in my career that set me up for success? I mean, I mentioned a little bit before. I think preparation is really big. I think especially when you're not comfortable, it is preparing for anything you can prepare for. So for example, when I first started at Channel 6 and I knew I was on nights, so it was a lot of breaking news, like breaking crime, and I would just show up and be expected to go live. Somebody gave me this advice, and I'm going to tell you because this actually can come into play if you're giving a presentation or something. Keep it simple. You hear that a lot of times on the sports field too, like don't be fancy, keep it simple, stupid, just do it. That is, like, to me, I would have this like format in my head: who, what, where, when, why, how. Sometimes I didn't even have the answers to all those questions, but it was like, we're standing here. It happened at this time. What happened? The police, you know, whatever. And I would just sort of keep it simple. Once you start to go off track a little bit and start to get a little fancy, that's when you get caught in the weeds. I would say until you feel comfortable, keep your sentences short, stick to the facts and then just keep it rolling. Sometimes shorter is better. I think a lot of times people think that they have to go and go and go. I actually would argue a nice, concise sentence gets the job done and is very clear. So that for me was one thing that I really just tried to keep my language clear. But also that's sort of how I try to write now, is that I would be very, just when you're in school even, like when you're writing a paper, be concise, be specific. What are you trying to say? Just like what we say to the kids, use your words. Don't say this or that or assume. Just be very specific about what you're trying to say. If you don't know the answer, don't assume. Do not assume. Ask. Ask again. Confirm. Verify. Sometimes you think you know the answer. You do not know the answer. Or there's a different perspective on said answer. So it's important that even if you think you know something, like I ask a million questions because I really just don't want to get it wrong. And honestly, sometimes I do anyway. And sometimes it's because you've asked somebody and they've given you different information, or they think it's correct and it's not. Sometimes you get something wrong. And I hate when that happens. So I guess the point is, especially in this day and age, and this is important with social media, and like people can be live immediately on their phones. Still be intentional. If you're like, if say you're working for the news station at like Bensalem or you're in whatever, like be intentional with what you're saying, because even if it's online, it still counts. Like it still can be, I don't want to say just, it can be wrong. It can affect other people. It can be held against you in the court of law, like all that stuff. It still exists if it's online, which I know I don't have to tell you. That seems to be something that everybody knows. But I think just in this quick turnaround of information, people are very eager to just say what they know. And it's still important to be able to ask questions, confirm, verify. Was there something else? No? Yeah? Or was that a... Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. So yeah. So, I mean, oh yeah, what is it?
How do you deal with hate?
How do what?
How do you deal with hate?
Oh, how do I deal with hate? Okay. So I ignore when possible. I have 2 older brothers, and they used to tease me relentlessly. And actually, that's a really good way to prepare. You just sort of ignore what you can. If someone has something legitimate, I'm happy to talk with them. But you definitely get some really sometimes it's safety. I mean, we're out. I mean, I mentioned before, it'll be like a photographer and me, and we're alone somewhere, and somebody comes up and they're yelling at you or they're upset. So you have to sort of gauge your how safe you are. But as far as internet stuff, I honestly just try to ignore it. It's hard to in the beginning. I mean, I wanted to answer everybody, but I don't think it could achieve much. So anyway, thank you guys. Thank you.